Right, here we are at Murphy's Point Provincial Park, our first time ever here.
It's the middle of July 2024, and the weather was pretty hot at the beginning of the week. It's been pretty dry for the most part, almost all dry. A little bit of rain here and there, thunderstorm. We had one day of idyllic weather.
Yesterday.
And
I mean, we did have it flooded in
yes.
Toronto, Mississauga, so we missed that.
There was a month and a half of rain in 3 hours in Toronto, so none of that got to us, so that was pretty good.
Yeah.
So this is a really nice park.
It is. It's a quirky park, though, I'd say.
So when you're picking sites, you have to be very, very careful because there are lots and lots of sites that are quite small. It's a very hilly terrain that the park is set in, and so lots of sites, you've got a driveway and then a climb up or down to a pad where you could put a tent on a very slopey spot. So
and there's even some ones that were 3 levels, where your car's at one level, your
fire
pit's at another level, your tent would be at another level. So yeah. So
we're at the Ash Hill campground, where I think most of our recommended sites would be. We're in site 16 on this trip, which, if you can turn your trailer around the opposite way of where you would normally have it, using the caravan movers like we did, then it might be the nicest site in the whole park. We've got a great view behind us. There's pretty good privacy in the direction that the camera is looking. In every other direction, the privacy is not so good. So not a lot of low brush to give you good privacy. So there are a lot of sites that are right on top of one another. Mm-hmm. Site 31 is an electric site that we thought looked pretty nice. 16 that we're on is great. We also thought that 25 is good. These are all in the Ash Hill campground, and in the Hogg Bay campground, site 40 looked pretty good, although it might be a little bit too far away from the comfort station. Yeah,
so I would say one of the things about this site, I mean, it is slopey, so you do have to adjust for that. But in terms of the situation, it's fairly close to the comfort station. It's quite close to Kaibos that have like a sink with soap and all that. And it's not that far a walk to the beach, maybe 5 minutes, right?
Right.
So
the beach is interesting. There's a lot of grass and a little bit of sand, and lots of geese at the beach.
Yes. So the thing...
Plan accordingly.
Yeah, the beach, you really want to have chairs to sit on at the beach, just so you don't have to worry about the goose poop. The other thing I would mention about this site is that in that direction, you can, through the trees, see the water.
Yeah, there's a little bit of, it's far from a waterfront site, but you do get a glimpse of Hogg Bay from here, which is lovely.
And I don't think there are any waterfront sites in this park.
Not so much, not really. But there are a lot of sites from which you can get a glimpse of the water, mm-hmm. but a lot of those tend to be pull-through sites.
Yeah.
We should mention that the Fallows campground is it's all non-electric for the most part. I think we saw like 1 or 2 electric sites.
Maybe close to the comfort station. There's maybe a couple electric sites.
But some ones that we saw that we liked were 103, 113. 123, 124, and 152. So those all seemed like they were pretty good if you were going to do some boondocking. There are great trails, actually several trails at the park of various lengths. We did the Loon Lake and McParland House trails early on, and they were nice trails. They're easy, nice and level, pretty accessible. We happened to enjoy it a lot less than we might because it was very buggy at the time of year that we were here.
Yeah.
We also did the Silver Queen Mine Trail and the tour. So they do tours some days of the week if you book those in advance. And that's quite interesting. So they'll have a park guide who will give you the lowdown on that. We got to see a gray rat snake.
Yes.
So they bring the snake out,
which was actually super interesting. Who
yes,
knew
cool.
that Ontario had constrictor snakes that climb trees? So that's cool.
Something else. If you needed more nightmare fuel, constrictor snakes that climb trees.
Utterly non-poisonous. They can rattle though, which is I also found very interesting.
That was interesting. So if you see a snake that you don't think is a rattlesnake because it's dark on top and white on the bottom, but it's rattling at you, it's probably just a constrictor, not a rat snake.
Yes.
So there's some trails we didn't do. We didn't do the Beaver Pond Trail or the Lally Homestead Trail, so we can't speak to that. We didn't do the Sylvan Trail. It has a guide, so if you get the guide, you can,
we have the guide.
We have the guide.
So don't buy
trail.
it again. Note to selves.
No, well, we're going to lose the guide and then have to spend another loonie on another guide. We did do the Point Trail. We did that yesterday when the weather was idyllic and there were, the bugs were actually tolerable. And that was quite a nice little trail.
Yeah. Lots
of up and down.
Not horrible up and down, though.
No, not like...
not like climbing up the hills in New York or something.
Or Bon Echo or some of the other places where the hills are really arduous. And we had a nice paddle, so you can get canoes. What's interesting is they have canoes sort of scattered around the park, so you can rent a canoe for wherever you want to start off from. You do all that at the store. And we went from the beach at Hogg Bay out into Big Rideau Lake, around the point, and into Noble Bay. And we could have, if we were feeling like lugging a big Ontario Parks canoe, 300 meters here and 400 meters there, we could have done a couple of portages and gone through Loon Lake and gone in a big circle. But
the canoes are like, they're decent canoes, but they're super heavy. So I'm really glad we decided not to portage.
Yeah. So we did a nice paddle out and back, and that was about 3 hours, I think, altogether. So it was a good paddle.
And we went super early in the morning, which we're really glad we did, because the water's really calm then. There's less motorboats, right, on the big lake.
Right.
And it was just a really good choice. And then the day was starting to get quite warm by the time we got back. So it was a good idea. And
you want to be careful about the wind coming up and that sort of thing, because on the way back, when we were out at the point, you get a fair chop. And
because
that got exciting.
Big Rideau Lake is actually fairly big. But the campground is on a bay off that lake, and so it's quite calm.
So in terms of other amenities in the park, they're really quite good. We've got nice hiking, and the beaches are not Lake Erie beaches by any means.
No.
But that's fine because we're not beach people. The camp store is pretty good. They keep the lights off, and maddeningly, they have hand-packed ice cream, but never anything with chocolate in it.
No, they had chocolate, but they just cleaned the freezer so it was too melty.
They said they had chocolate, but this is real cheese shop sketch stuff, because we're just out, and then you come back and it's too runny. So beware of that.
But the camp store, I would not like.
It's not the best camp store.
It is not
the
best camp store, so.
But it is far from the worst camp store. It's well provided with lots of things.
If you needed a meal, it would be a little bit of a desperation meal.
You can get, eggs and hot dogs and craft dinner and garlic powder if you're out of garlic powder.
A can of tuna. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was pretty good, and we enjoyed the Silver Queen Mine tour.
Yeah, really interesting.
That also has a guide if you want to do, and we didn't stop at the places where there were.
No, so it would actually, for next time, it would actually be interesting to then do that trail. You can't go down into the mine without a guide, but I think you might get more information off the guidebook than
about the
at the various stop, because there's posts to stop at that correspond to the guidebook, and we didn't stop at any of those posts on the guided tour. So
you can do the tour and get one story, and then do a self-guided tour with the booklet and get a different story.
Theoretically, we haven't done the self-guided tour, nor did we read the book, although we purchased it.
Well, you just never know. Why? I figured you should have brought the book so that you could correct the tour guide when she made mistakes.
I meant to be obnoxious, but I forgot.
So the other thing about Murphy's Point, which is quite nice, is that it is pretty close to the town of Perth and the town of Smiths Falls. And Perth is a lovely town, lots of great places to grab a bite to eat.
Lots of historic buildings. It's a really pretty, nice town.
Yeah. Not a pretty nice town, a pretty, nice town.
Right.
So we enjoyed that. We went through they have a museum, Perth Museum. We didn't get to see the third floor because, again, too runny. But
also everything's closed on Tuesday.
Everything's closed on Tuesday.
So we went to Perth twice.
We figured if we skipped Monday, knowing that everything would be closed. And then Tuesday was the rainy day, so we thought, well, why don't we do that? And still, many things were closed.
Yeah, it turns out they're a Monday, Tuesday weekend town.
There you go. And we did go to Smiths Falls, and we got to meet Corey McMullen, who, much to my great relief, is a nice guy in person, not just on TikTok.
Yes.
And we had a nice chat with him and met his dad. And I even got a glimpse of Kyle running through the back of the store there. Didn't get to see the kettlebell, but we did manage to pick up a couple of ProShine microfiber towels.
Which we haven't tried out yet. So we'll have to have a future review of those.
Right. So all in all, definitely recommend Murphy's Point. It's a nice park. Just be super careful picking sites.
Oh, the other thing I think we should mention is the fact that we were here at this time of year meant that at night the forest is full of fireflies, and it's absolutely magical. And according to the internet, that is a thing that you see June, beginning of July only, and then they peter out after that. So really glad we were here at that time of year, because it was
nuts to see the fireflies going like fireworks. It was really
because this forest here, we wouldn't bother with a campfire. We'd just sit and watch the fireflies. It was great.
Quite amazing that way.
Oh, and also cell signal here, we've really had no trouble. I mean, it's not full bars or anything, but I was still able to stream something from Gem.
Right. So that's a good point. Unlike Owenda, where we were hard pressed to get a signal at all, here we're getting LTE, a couple of bars of LTE all the time. So high speed. We had a little chat with Noah in the middle of the week. That call dropped once. It might have been on his side because that was flood day. So in the GTA, but so good cell service, which is also handy when you're trying to figure out what on earth is that weird bird sound.
Yes, which we never quite figured out.
We never quite figured out, but we've heard owls. We've heard red-eyed vireos, which is a thing we didn't even know existed.
Joel downloaded an app.
I downloaded a bird app because it was such a weird bird noise, and we were trying to figure out what on earth is that bird. And we weren't the only ones. We had neighbors who were also walking around with telephoto lenses trying to spy these things.
Yeah.
So there you
So
go.
my theory, young crow, but don't know.
All right. Well, there we are from Murphy's Point, July 2024.